Welcome out, ladies and gentlemen, to another RGL Highlander match invite. We got two lightweight squads here today, a battle for the bottom of the table. We got My Netgraph is a War Crime versus Impostors on this Koth Cascade match. I'm Zagron, joined out here by Rogue and Dolphin behind the cam. As always, Rogue, how you doing today?
I'm doing quite well, Zagron, thanks. Yeah, I am, at least with these teams being a little towards the bottom of the rankings, they're at least very close together, so I'm hoping we see some interesting plays back and forth between these teams.
I have a feeling we'll be using the word interesting a lot tonight. So with Netgraph and Impostors, both of them, they hold 1-4 records. Both of their wins are forfeits because of the team that died. So no real win for either team so far. And tonight we will see one of them claim their first invite win of the season. So that's going to be big for them to get that morale up at least.
There are some pretty notable players on each of these rosters. There's some names we've seen before, like this is a quick shout out to make sure if you are American to please vote. We're getting radioed in. It is the most important thing in the next 24 hours. Please make sure to do it. That being said, I'm excited to see some of these players, such as like DZ Creeper on Soldier. We've known that name and invite for a while now. I mean, Rebel on Netgraph is pretty nice as well. The SAR did a lot of work against Kids Next Door 2 weeks ago. And even on Impostors, Michael PC1's putting up big numbers. Rue is heavy for MCM, who, just a season after Rue is on the team, they won first place. So there's a lot of nice names in the server at the least.
Yeah, we got the rosters on your screen right now. You did name off a lot of them. We can run down them formally. On Netgraph, we have Rebel Ringing Scout. We got DZ Creeper on Soldier, TK on Pyro, Octa on Demo Man, Beanie on Heavy, Nico Jims on Engineer, Dinko on Medic, the SAR on Sniper, and Homeless on Spy.
And on the other side, we got Bonesaw Scout, Wise on Soldier, Inquisition Pyro, Brandon on Demo Man, our friend Rue on Heavy, Starfruit 66 on Engineer, Zoomzy on Medic, Michael PC1 on Sniper, and then Dave rounding out the roster on Spy.
Yeah, and you mentioned Netgraph. They actually had a very good showing against K&D a couple weeks back. Last week was their bye week, so it was that product match where we saw them go 3-4 against K&D, which is probably the biggest surprise of the season match-wise. It was just crazy to watch because K&D was pretty much going to be established as favorites 4-0 easy. But then Netgraph pulled out a lot of plays that were just very impressive. One of them was DZ Creeper playing Demo Man, actually. So it is a bit of a changed roster we're seeing out here from Netgraph. But if we're going to play favorites in a match versus two winless teams, I would say from what we've seen, Netgraph is the favorite because they have taken more rounds against more teams.
I would agree, especially because we saw that crazy 3-round performance against Candy on Koth, and these guys have a combined total. We had our boys in the lab run the numbers, and there's 17,000 lobbies between their entire 9-man roster.
Oh my god.
1,000. Right, and which we did the math also was more hours than I've played in all of Team Fortress 2, and it took me 7 years to win invite, right? But anyway.
Someone crunched the math on exactly how many months of TF2 gameplay they've clocked it on TF2 Center alone. Either way, we're moving into that one. So with Netgraph, their other round wins they have one payload half against Refrigerator and against one other team I'm forgetting. It was on Vigil. So they have shown the ability to take rounds off of mid-table teams and even occasionally top-table teams. So I think that Impostors being a step below as Impostors, they only had one game where they had rounds taken against Burger Squad on product. So Yeah, we would be edging NetGraph here. Chat vote might come up sometime in the future, but yeah, if there's any players you want to call out on either side right now who you think would make a big impact on Cascade, you can shout that one out.
Ooh, well, while we're talking about players, don't forget to throw your predictions down here in the chat. Yeah, I think the snipers are both going to do a lot of work. Michael PC1 turning a lot of heads. Uh, even the combo really for both teams isn't too drastically different, I think. So, yeah, I think it'll come down to players like DZ Creeper and Rebel maybe putting in a bit extra work on the flank. So, if I had to cast my vote, I'd say it's probably 4-1 for NetGraph.
That's a fair assessment. I'm gonna go 4-0 NetGraph just because I want the match to be over sooner. I'm just kidding. I like being here with you all casting on Monday nights, but I really just do think there's a big difference between where imposters stand, have stood all season. So if they can prove us wrong, that'd be nice. Give us a bit of more competitive maps. They both did take 3 rounds on product after all, so probably some more Koth experience in here for imposters than payload. And as for more players we can shout out real quick, you mentioned Michael PC1 versus the SAR. The SAR is a very old name in TF2, the TF2 timeline, where a lot of you from old mid UGC seasons would probably remember him, maybe talking to him. So he's back. Beanie also back on Netgraph. This is the first time we've actually casted Netgraph this season. So there are a lot of old names. Nico Jims as well, but he's been playing a lot recently in comparison. So yeah, NetGraph, they definitely do have some recognizable players, and I do think that they're going to be the stronger roster out here. Another thing you mentioned is the DZ Creeper Soldier versus Wise. Wise is a pretty stable force on Imposters where he plays like a consistent style of like similar to kind of Rain does in the upper echelons at Invite. So we'll have to see what he does on Cascade here because this is a very good soldier map if played right.
I'd also like to give a shout out to Homeless, which is a spy for NetGraph, who is doing huge work against Kids Next Door in their Koth game just 2 weeks ago, where not only was he getting consistent picks and a couple mid drops here and there, but additionally, shutting down Boar is no easy feat, right? And he had Boar on the Razorback the entire time and still gave him a run for his money. So I'm excited to see what Holmes is able to accomplish here against Michael PC1, who's definitely going to be opening up most of these fights for imposters.
And we do have a minor correction. It is not Dave on Spy tonight for Imposters. It is going to be Acor. So he will be playing Spy, and he will be trying to match Homeless in that regard. Cascade Spy is a bit interesting because your effectiveness is kind of calculated by how many good comms you can give your team and how well you can collapse on plays together. And if the enemy team is playing very far forward or playing on point like we're used to invite teams playing, then it could be hard for the Spy to get things running. But that's where the comms come in. So we'll see how those two spies can kind of affect how the flow of the match goes. We can talk a little bit about how Cascade meta runs. I mentioned teams like to play on point. So Rogue, you have played this season. So what have you noticed about how teams are playing Cascade nowadays?
It does feel like teams have figured out the holds and pushes a little bit better, bleeding fewer players before pushes, bleeding a few players less after pushes. The most interesting thing I think to keep your eyes on that no one will know until after it's too late are these plays that happen through under, especially during the mid fights, right? You get a heavy through there, a soldier through there, a pirate through there. It doesn't matter. Basically, any class can get work done. So that's probably our number one play to watch out for.
Yeah, and Rue, as we know, is a big proponent of the ever powerful flank heavy, and on this map, that heavy becomes a submarine, nuclear submarine, Russian going underwater and coming up, setting off a bomb on the enemy combo. So, if Rue does keep making those plays, it will be very interesting to track him and how many kills he manages to get. Heavies can go very big on this map. I saw a log from I think it was a door scrim because they show logs around where the enemy heavy just ended up demolishing everyone in the server. And I want to see if Rue can pull something off like that. Heavy unchecked underneath will be a big presence. And that said, we'll be getting started here on this Koth Cascade match between NetGraph and Impostors. It will be Impostors on the blue side, NetGraph on the red side rolling out here. Does look like Octa's going to be here a bit sooner, trying to contest the spam. Brandon arrives with Bonesaw, trying to contest left side. Wrangled Mini up at the start, and there's a bomb from Wise going early but getting killed. Counter bomb in from DZ Creeper, gets pushed back as Michael P1. Oh, but he does finally kill the Bonesaw, so flank advantage in the favor of NetGraph.
We saw Rue walk all the way across the point, but he was sort of the only one who was able to commit.
Oh, there's the underplay.
Now, here it comes. Oh, Beanie is salvaging, just making sure to lock out the imposters anyway. The imposters just barely trying to trickle back in and see what they can do. But yeah, after a nice play from Beanie through under, mid goes in favor of the Impostors.
Yep, sacrificed his life for 2 picks on the back end, as now Impostors coming up on 100% Uber for Dinko. Zoomzy on 90. We'll be getting that very shortly, as now it's a bit of a reset. Both teams have Uber. We see Netgraph playing on the point here, as Michael PC1 does find out Homeless early, so no spy presence. Going to be walking up here for Impostors, trying to go across the point. The Uber is popped first, his Inquisition is bounced around, gets flashed at 1 HP, and keeps pushing them back. It's a solo onto TK, excuse me, as they're pushing them all the way back. No casualties yet except for the spies, and it's going to be a lot of kills on point. Finally, Rue and TK do end up dropping at the end, but it is still control over the point for Netgraph as the counter is coming in.
Oh, the solo pyro play, and then the entire rest of Netgraph rolls onto the point all at once and like a flood across each side of the point. Michael PC1, the only one putting up a fight here, getting a pick onto the SAR as we happen to catch a spy. Homeless, not able to find a home on the scoreboard yet.
Yeah, that said, Michael PC1 on a 5k now takes down Rebel at the end of that, so they might just want to keep drive pushing with this advantage, but A-Core has died a bit off timer. It's only a one-man ad for Impostors right here. Is Dinko going to have a 10% advantage to work with this point hold? Impostors haven't found the way out. It's a pretty strong forward hold from Netgraph here. They're playing forward on the rock, although we do see DZ Creeper drop to Wise, so that will be a bit lost. Starfruit trying to edge them off point, and finally Netgraph is forced back.
Impostors have the better spawns, but both teams are coming up on Uber here. Beanie trying to stay alive, Dinko trying to get ready for Ubering TK onto the point. Starfruit and Inquisition getting the cap time through. Dinko works right across the point.
Rebel.
Drops Rebel, you hate to see it. I mean, TK is able to solve the point, but there's too many down on the side of Netgraph, so the point's going the way of Impostors now.
Yeah, Chaotic Uber does not work out well for Netgraph as they drop their players who were necessary. But that said, SAR and Homeless have found 2 picks on Inquisition and Brandon during off time. So even though Zoomzy is 100% Uber, no one really to pop it on besides Rue and Michael PC1. They're going to have to back up here with the spawns. Homeless is going to try to drop stab onto the heavy, takes down Rue, another combo kill for him, and that's going to be an easy retake for Netgraph. Although Impostors have an Uber. They're down about a minute 15, but they have a chance to take it right back.
Let's look at a little bit of time, but look at this, Netgraph kind of recognizing that they can't let them in for free with this big advantage on the side of Impostors, right? So Netgraph plays across the point, gets some chip damage off. DZ Creeper playing in the high ground as that little cave gremlin. And now, look at all this time that's taking off the clock. Excuse me, Zoomzy is picked by the SAR.
Why are they sacking? Oh, Zoomzy dropped in the off time. He got sniped by SAR. So yeah, this is a sack to try and even out the medic disadvantage. Rocket does not hit from Wise. Good pipe from Octa. And I didn't see where Zoomzy got sniped by, but that medic drop is going to kill all momentum they could have possibly got back. And now it's going to be a full 2-minute lead for Netgraph and a full Uber ad.
I feel like we're seeing Netgraph be a little more proactive in these holds, right? Recognizing we're at this ad, we need to play up for some early. We have the ad, stay back and stay alive, right? Impostors, losing a medic in a time like this, you hate to see it, or these other times they have full Uber, they're not quite getting in fast enough. So now they're here full this ad, you gotta get some kind of opening, and you better do it fast.
That said, Rue has died at the beginning. SAR is betrayed, both spies finding the backstab. Uber into the enemy house right now from Netgraph, taking down some kills. Brandon also dropping into that one. It's going to be a lot of players left on point for Netgraph here as Inquisition and A-Core are trying to fight point alone, but they're going to get picked off one by one. Wise in on the side, gets reflected back, and that's going to be round 1 in the favor of Netgraph very convincingly.
Yeah, the point was only traded for, 25 seconds on the side of Impostors, so they got just one capture and got completely shut down after that. So we're going to have to see a little bit more hustle, maybe some more big plays from Michael PC1 coming on out.
We've not actually seen Impostors hold the point yet. They've just had to back off the one time they got it. So there's not really anything to look at yet to see if they can come back on this. Early bomb in on this mid from the explosive classes. DZ Creeper getting a lot of damage but not finding the med pick yet. That said, Homeless going big with a 3k. Michael, Wise, and Rue all dropping to that one. So any hope that Impostors had on that mid was just immediately taken away by Homeless finding his home, as you mentioned. And that's going to be the easy mid for Netgraph.
That's so big from DZ Creeper as well, where when he went behind, he pulled 4 people away from the mid, right? Completely split up the team. They're running back to try and deal with a soldier, and suddenly the other half of the team that stayed in is now fighting a 4v9, or 4v8, I should say. So that's a pretty easy mid for Netgraph.
Yep, and there's going to be Uber out here from Impostors trying to get this, but they're getting soloed on it by TK, not even needing Uber. He's not taking any damage. There's no hit scanning on it, so he's going to get out completely safe. And they don't even force Netgraph's Uber, so that Uber was just disastrous from Impostors. They're going to try to re-push the point here, but they have to run into the full Uber. Rue in the tunnel going to force that one out before getting sniped down as Michael and Wise drop in the meantime. So, yeah, complete disaster. No hit scan into the Uber to deny the Pyro, and that was just a solo denial from TK.
Yeah, Imposters watching Necraft do these solo pyro Ubers, like, wow, we could do that. We could do that too. But they forgot that they weren't the ones who had the points, and that's why it worked for Necraft. So, yeah, not much doing with the solo pyro Uber on offense.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Impostors so far. They do have a 20% ad to work with, but they need to find an entry in because they're clearly not doing well in the exchanges. Sar gonna immediately snipe down Rue as he gets in that middle house area. It's gonna be a bit of dry pressure. Homeless misses a stab onto Brandon there, so that's a bit unfortunate, but does not die for it. As Zoomzy gonna come up on 100% Uber, and Michael finds the entry onto Sar, so this is the best chance that Impostors have here.
Working their way in with this advantage. Starfruit 66 leading the charge. No, it's on Brandon now. The Uber gets forced out with Zoomzy on the 28 health. There's a good amount of damage being dealt by Brandon, kind of corralling all
Okay,
of the
but
Necroft
TK's
players.
solo denying this. Here's a late bomb in from Wise as a tiny thing. TK is just solo denying. They're not getting any hit scan on the Ubers. Now the counter is out. It was unforced by the initial Uber. It's going to be Rebel. This is how you Uber. Scout Demo Man in there, getting kills. Rebel on a 5k. That's what happens when you give your Scout a flash. But that's a Rue. Submarine underneath, trying to find some picks. He is spotted out, though, and the health will get healed up for Netgraph. And again, a completely one-sided fight.
And whoop, I thought we had a brief pause there real quick, but yeah, look at this now. Dinko on about 25% advantage as well, and Homeless with a huge stab on Michael PC1. A 5k on Spy so far, 5 kill streak that is. So a lot of, as we say this, Itzy Acor gets caught out too, so Wise trying to make a play through the tunnel, the cave, the waterfall. Bonesaw trying to make an opening, going for Beanie. These are some good ideas, but they're kind of one by one from Impostors, right?
Yeah, DZ Creeper pops out his Conjurer, and there's no push at all for Impostors waiting. They did lose their pick classes early, and they lost Inquisition late, so gonna be waiting for those respawners again. This time they're at a 30% Uber disad, and they need to get on the point with 20 seconds, otherwise it's gonna be a clean 3 minutes to 0 round. Coming in, early bomb in, gonna try and get the heavy, but Beanie turns around in time to kill both those players. TK on point alone, but the Uber is ready for Dinko to come up here.
Oh, just making his way in, saves Rebel this time, and now Rebel just gets a feast on all these players. Zoomzy 98% Uber, but they need a capture, and you can't cap if you're shiny. Brandon goes down, Inquisition on the point. Now Starfruit is able to get this capture down. Looks like we're able to get the point here and finish with almost even Ubers, but the spawn advantage is about to turn in favor of Netcraft. Netcraft already doing damage, working their way in. The Rebels on the point, they're working their way across already, Zagron. The points captured, ×5, ×6. It's almost down, and now this is just another round for Netcraft as a war cry.
For those of you who remember our product cast when we casted Impostors, they had this problem where they would solo Uber Inquisition across the point and never find any kills, and that's happening again, where the one time they've captured the point there at the end, they did get the capture because the Uber was later, but they couldn't chase down any kills, because what is the Pyro going to do to chase down any kills there? He doesn't have a jetpack. Can't get in there. It just looks like Impostors, they never ever have a chance to win Ubers because Bonesaw either doesn't want to take Beam or they're just not as a team planning to get their scouting on Ubers. It's actually just rudimentarily wrong when they're not doing this because their Ubers never get kills. I don't get it. You think they would change something by now.
I don't know who is doing the calling on the side of Impostors, but it feels like they don't quite have a strong voice, right? We're in these off Uber plays, they're realizing they should do something, but they don't commit to it. When they're going for the Uber, people kind of know how an Uber's supposed to go, but no one's exactly commanding, like, this is what must happen with the Uber, right? So I keep seeing that as such an issue for Impostors, where they'll agree they need to push together and like start walking towards a point when it's off Ubers, right? But then like one guy dies to the sniper and suddenly the other 8 players all leave because there's a sniper. Turns out there's a sniper all the time. This is Highlander. The sniper is always going to be there, so you just have to go and it can't shoot all of you, right? And that's the hustle that we're missing out of the Impostors.
Yeah, I at this point in the season, it's kind of too late to change how you do things because after this match, there's one game left for playoffs, and neither of the teams are making playoffs. A bit of a spoiler in case you haven't been following the table, but for what we're seeing, it just seems like Impostors don't really know what they're doing with Ubers. I really hate to call them out like so much when I'm casting them, but I'm just watching solo Pyro Ubers happen, and nothing ever dies. It's just like, why are you playing this way? Is there a reason why they can't like at least try to take their scouting on Ubers or try to force flashes? Because even when they do have advantage, and this team does find advantages, like we mentioned at the start of the game, Michael PC1 is a very good sniper, able to find entries. Brandon has good enough DM to contest a lot of mid-invite demos, but they just never ever have good exchanges ever. I don't think I've seen one where they've been really decisively won it.
We see sometimes in these games, even when it's one sided, like maybe one or a couple players go really huge, or there's just a couple fights that don't go your way. But this seems like a little bit more systematic from the imposters, like you were saying, where you hate to bring it back up, but if you were to watch back this VOD, anyone on that team or otherwise would say, "Oh, hey, look at all these kind of overall approach issues that were kind of missing on the side of the imposters." So hopefully they're taking their time in this halftime, talk it over, see if we can get some more openings. Rue's a player, he loves to get in there and go deep. I mean, Bonesaw is another old teammate of mine. I know he's very willing to do whatever the team needs. So, they kind of have the pieces there, and they have the skill in a lot of these players. Still looking at Michael PC1 doing quite well for his team even in that round. So we hope to see a little bit of a turnaround, and that's why I stand by my prediction. I think they might get one, but if the score right now is 2-0 in favor of my net graph is a war crime, so 2 more rounds and it's all over.
Yeah, and you can see the juxtaposition in the game of how the teams take Ubers, like how a real invite team should take Ubers when imposters Uber Inquisition in and they get one kill maybe, and then in post Rebel lives, gets a flash, and then he just kills 3 people. That's like it's really blatant to see for anyone watching either a demo or overhead or even people who are watching from death cam, the difference that scout makes when he can take a flash and just kill people. And I don't know what's gonna come out of imposters if they can maybe realize this or try to play with it, but it's just really sad to see what fights that are this one-sided. Both these teams should be closer together. They are the bottom invite teams, and when we say that, it sounds insulting, but it's just the truth. Where both these teams have not won a match yet, right? There's just a big skill gap in how they're playing here. So that lets you think, if NetGraph have taken rounds off of K&D and off of the other mid-invite teams on payload, then what's really going on here? Is there just a big gap in between imposters and the rest of invite, or is this just another map? Can they just not play Koth properly?
Maybe if they came up against my net graph as a war crime on a payload or perhaps a CP steal, then the score might be a little bit closer because these guys are a little bit of beasts on this map.
Yeah. Netgraph does look like they're playing pretty textbook. They're on point. Let's compliment Netgraph a little bit here because they are playing very well. Their Ubers are very good. Their defense, they hold on point properly. It feels like they did watch some of the better invite teams play this map. Because I noticed they're doing a lot of things that MM was actually doing in scrims, where they have an engineer left side of the point forward holding, well, defensive right side holding with a mini sentry wranglet, while the sniper holds the other angle, and it's really hard to break that stalemate. They have a really good on point presence in Uber where they're getting people up onto the rocks, they're getting people making pressure forward. So Netgraph are playing the map properly. It just looks really, really one sided. Like, even if they weren't, it wouldn't matter that much.
And while we have the logs in front of us here as well, I'm noticing, as you could imagine, there's way more frags on the side of the imposters,
Like,
on the side of
Bonesaw's at
Netgraph,
2
but
kills and Rebel's at 14. There's something wrong here.
Dinko having a perfect half on medic too for my Netgraph as a war crime. Deathless medic half.
Yeah, we have to remember in that half, imposters capped 2 times for a total of 30 seconds, right?
Yeah, that.
So
No, yeah, that's correct. Sorry.
25 in the first and 5 in the second.
Yeah,
So
we
either
look to
way,
the logs like this,
one-sided.
right? Like obviously, it would be really weird if it was even closer logs than this. But what we look to see in these types of logs is like, all right, where's the way back in? Where's the opening, or where's the weakness? But I don't know, Zach. I
I
don't
don't
really
see
see
it.
one.
So the thing why Imposters was able to go 4-3 with Burger Squad on product, it wasn't because their Ubers magically got that much better in the game. It's because their sniper and spy were absolutely popping off if you go back and watch that. I'm not sure if it was a core on that one, it might have been Dave. But their pick classes were playing out of their minds, and it was enough to get them 3 rounds. So on a map like Cascade, where it's a lot harder for Sniper and Spy to actually get things done when they're on the offensive perspective, because Spy, if the enemy team's playing on point, Spy can't do anything. If your Sniper has to constantly fight into a forward Sniper on point, then he can't really do much. So it's up for the rest of the combo and the flank of Imposters to try and make openings when their pick classes are being held down, and I just don't see that happening.
And this map is a little bit famous for being super dominant for snipers with some very long sight lines that kind of see over the whole point. Like everything the light touches is your kingdom type peaks. So unfortunately, though, Michael PC1 not even really able to create those openings for his team. Like the Netgraph as a Warcry is playing so solid and so uncontested that even if you go in and get 1 or 2 picks, it's really not going to matter in the grand scheme of things because people aren't capitalizing on them fast enough.
Yeah, that said, I think we've talked enough about the first half. Logs are on your screen if you want to keep looking, but honestly, the logs don't really matter because it was just super one-sided of a roll. So we're just waiting for the second half to get started here. We do have all the players in the server. I do believe teams are just talking a bit, probably imposters. I would hope it's imposters. But yeah, we're just waiting to get into that one. Maybe we have some updates from around the league, see if anything abnormal is happening. The reason we're on this match is because the other matches were just as lopsided. I do believe it was Cuties. No, it was I think it was MM or Cuties with the bye week, and then K&D versus Refrigerator, and either MM or Cuties against the last team. So yeah, this on paper was the closest matchup, and it probably should be because the top 3 invite teams we have are very separated from the middle of the table. So yeah, just is what
I'm
we
just
landed
pulling
on.
up some scores real quick. I see that K&D has not dropped any rounds to Refrigerator. It looks like Memento Mori has only played the first half, which is 1 round according to the log. So they're still underway, it seems.
And nothing unusual has happened. No product week fiascos coming out yet. And teams have practiced a lot for this map because, for those of you who aren't aware, this is the most recent map added to the Koth map pool. It's most recent in general besides the reworked Vigil. I'm not sure which is actually first, the original Cascade or the original Vigil. I do remember playing Vigil a long time ago. It's gone through many iterations, but either way, this is still a relatively new map in the TF2 sphere, even though it has been here for, well, I want to say a year or 2 now. But yeah, still newest because all the maps in this game are very old. And teams are still figuring out how to play it because it takes a while to develop meta on maps. And the whole holding on point was somewhat of a recent development in the map's lifespan. So we are seeing NetGraph pulling that off very well in this match, where they understand the new way you play this map and the new way you hold teams out. So credit to them for doing their research, doing their practice.
I thought the coolest part of Netgraph's play here was the way they would take the forward holds, right? Where they would hold on point and sometimes even get way deep, only for a second. But it looks like they're going to get a chance to show it to us again if things repeat themselves as we head into the second half.
Yep, it does look like we have not switched sides. We'll still be imposters on the blue and NetGraph on the red. As this time, look at Bren's a bit faster, but he is missing a bit of health, going to have to get healed up by Zoomzy immediately. We're immediately walking the point on our Netgraph, and they're going over with the bomb. DZ Creeper doing some damage. Octa finds the pipes onto Brandon, and Bonesaw trades onto DZ Creeper from the other side. So it is a good advantage for the side of Netgraph here with that Demo Man. Beanie's going to push back a bit though, as Star finds the snipe onto Wise. Homeless is the trade. They're trying to walk forward in return, but Bonesaw gets shredded by Nico and the Pyro. It is a spy in late as, Dinko goes down to Michael PC1 at the end, so Impostors finding some picks on this mid. It's very close in the end, but it looks like it will be Demoman surfing away, and it looks like Impostors found their first mid win off of that snipe onto the enemy medic, so that is one turning point that could happen here.
Zag, Rue and Bonesaw have switched classes. Rue on Scout, Bonesaw on Heavy for the Impostors.
Yeah, it looks like we have that coming through, and honestly, if it's an experimental change, I like it so far. It worked out from what we saw, because we saw Bonesaw walk across point on Heavy and make a lot of space for his team. So, if they're going to change that playstyle, so be it. It does look like Wise and Starfleet have dropped on the back side. Going to be looking to push up onto the point our Netgraph. Rue is playing underneath right now on Scout, trying to get that mini, but it will stop him. Spidey clicking on Beanie. Acor easily has that kill, although it's a bit of an 8v9 right now. Full Uber is had for Zoomzy and the Impostors. We're going to have to see when they have to go to deny point with it.
DZ Creeper trying to make that opening on the Zoomzy, but Zoomzy just barely surviving. Not picking any sightlines. But the banner coming in from DZ now. They work their whole way across point for Netgraph. Oh, they must be forcing this Uber, but Zoomzy holds strong, holds fast. Rebel, though, coming through under, what did we say? And that's where the force comes from. So now they do manage to get Dinko, obviously, a little bit earlier on in that fight by Brandon was able to pick Dinko. So the Ubers will be even. But great plays from Rebel and DZ Creeper to make sure that Uber gets forced out and give them a off Uber chance to come back into this.
Yeah, what's something interesting there was that Bonesaw actually was with his combo there to take Uber on heavy. He got a flash at the end, so if that's something they're going to change, Bonesaw's going to play more combo-centric, then it could be what they need to find a way into team fights. Looks like we're going to have another fight where Homeless is dead early, gets caught out by Wise, as now Point is being edged by the side of Netgraph. They're taking a lot of damage, they're putting a lot of damage out onto Rue as he goes down. Bonesaw as well getting taken down by Rebel. It's a bit of a pyro contest, but it is not enough as they lost too many players. Impostors are going to have to back up here, and that's a clean take, although Dinko dropped at the end to Wise, so he did find that clean rocket to give Zoomzy a 90% advantage.
And now you have the faster spawns. You have 4 picks if you're Impostors, right? You just need to get your Uber in and get in there fast. Getting a little bit healed up, working away
with
from
this many
drop
picks,
down.
they should try to not use their Uber. They should try to just take this dry as a team.
Yeah, maybe it would be better to be safe than sorry, but I do agree with you in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, they are going to get onto Point here. Zoomzy and Bonesaw are going underneath right now. We're going to have to see if this Uber through lower works. Brandon going to need that Uber early. Gets it popped onto him. Sar drops to a backstab. It's going to be a lot of damage coming out on the ramp side, but only 2 kills. TK barely makes out with his life as there's a counter in here from the bats and the ramp crunch. We're going to have to see if they can get enough damage down before Impostors can run, and they're just running for the hills.
TK picks up a wayward sandwich and survived on 3 HP to deny that Uber ad. Now it's going to be 25 ad for Dinko, but look at this. Netgraph just said like, alright, well, our spawns are better anyway. We'll just go from our own low ground, shove you off the point and keep trying for it. And it looks like Impostors are respecting them a little bit too much. Like, this point's pretty captured. Players are pretty far back. Bonesaw and Wise now working on the way through. This is the
Wise
collapse,
on the back
bait and
end.
switch, getting the medic.
Yeah, that's a big flank from underneath, getting a bunch of kills in the cleanup as Bonesaw combining for that one. Michael PC cleaning up on the back end on a 7k. Beanie and Octa. There's the Michael PC. We know he's getting a lot of work done. And that's another pretty much wipe on the side of Netgraph. Spy in, trying to find any kills. Rebel not going to get anything either. Homeless going to stay cloaked here. And that sack is unsuccessful. They're going to get Homeless Spy skill and catch him out off Uber as well. And that's a full Uber ad for Zoomzy.
DZ Creeper trying to see what kind of room he can make. Inquisition
He took Zoomzy very
completely
low.
blocking it. And now Zoomzy going to survive, but you might even want to use a super and just secure overtime. Wise jumps in. Inquisition does get a pick onto a Beanie as well. So Rebel trying to get cap time. Even Octa and TK.
Oh, they dropped 4 players in this Uber. It's just Brandon and Wise here contesting. They are hurting the enemy back, but the point got capped. They didn't Uber fast enough. So now backstab in onto Brandon. He's taken down, and this is not looking good for the Impostors. Nico through underneath trying to hit Zoomzy, but the mini's going to take him down before he can. And that's going to be a lot of players dropping on the side of Netgraph. All Impostors need to do is recap this and hold for 2 seconds, and they have a round.
Sometimes as medic like Zoomzy, I like to stand in the mini sentry and pretend I'm a real class and have combat abilities. So Zoomzy able to survive there, and now even have a 25% ad. 1 second on the clock. What's this, Agron? Is
there you
go.
The Bonesaw swap with Rue actually paid off really big from what I was seeing. Their Ubers looked a lot better. Bonesaw was actually playing a bit of a base heavy where he's playing as an anchor and trying to kill things that walk forward. Meanwhile, on the other side, we saw Rue actually get a lot of space and make shots come through. So whether or not that was the change they were talking about at halftime, it looked very good so far from the Impostors. That said, we're on a new mid here. Wise rolling out through the tunnel, doing a lot of damage to DZ Creeper as mid is happening pretty slowly. Underneath trades happen onto Michael and Beanie. Bomb from Wise onto the point, but Netgraph are forward. 1 rocket onto Dinko, not going to take him down. He does end up living, and it's a small numbers ad for the side of Netgraph, but they're going to win this mid fight off it.
You watch the beginning of that mid, like even numbers, even positioning, but then you look at the little icons on the bottom left and bottom right of your screen to see the health, and immediately Impostors goes to half health and stays at half health for their entire team. But look at this, just bringing the hustle right back, get the capture while they, well, you know, there's so many players down on the side of Netgraph, stack the point, get it clean, and now we're going to forward hold even Ubers. We're seeing a lot of speed and maybe a strong resonating voice coming out of Impostors, and this is exactly what we're looking for.
Yep, we do see now they're playing forward on point, although they are stacked on the defensive left, all their players as well. You can see Wise jump up, but a bit too early, and he gets taken down for free, basically. As now Pausing going to rotate to the other side. We're going to see what they contest with. Both teams have Uber. All the spam coming down from DZ Creeper onto the combo. Octa as well doing a lot, but Spy in gets the kill onto Sar, but can't find the chain onto the medic. Unfortunate for A-Core there as he gets taken down. Beanie now on a 2k, getting a lot of kills. Uber is popped forward. Soldier popped up. Pyro going to die for that one as the Uber is countered. Bonesaw taking this one in stride. Does a lot of damage. Both teams are going to reset a bit. It does favor Impostors though, as they currently have the point. They are down 4 players.
This isn't so bad for Impostors while they're not delaying the point capture, getting a couple more seconds on the clock. They do have an advantage by 45 seconds on the old stopwatch. But look at this, DC Creeper going in deep with the banner. Not quite able to find anything as Impostors backs way up, but you want to take this off Uber fight right now if you're the Impostors.
Yeah, they're going to look to dry push. They don't exactly have a numbers advantage here, but Ubers won't be up for about 40% more for both sides, so just a lot of time to work with here. Rue going to run out onto the mini, sees that one wise as well, going to be denied by it. So that mini on the left side, like I mentioned, doing a lot of work. Sar losing the SVS to Michael, going to be a big opening for the Impostors.
Yeah, you gotta start moving through the Impostors too. I mean, it's an Uber differential of only 10%, so that's not too much to speak of. DC Creeper working his way right into the heavy.
They got 3 players already.
Now Beanie is quite forward as heavy. He's going to get chipped apart by Inquisition. Oh, Dinko flash to save Beanie just the last second. Takes out Inquisition. Takes out Bonesaw. Working the way across the point.
It's all in Brandon here. Rue's going to get in late on the Uber trying to fight the mini sentry, but they're not in fast enough to get any of the cleanup kills. That mini doing a good job to deny. So credit to Nico where the credit is due. As now the point's going to be reset here. No players are dead. That said, Starfruit dies, but Dinko gets headshot by Michael. So that's a big play from the side of Impostors. Michael finding his footing here in the second half, and now it's going to be an all-out sack for Netgraph trying to get that counter med pick. They do find a lot of kills here. Beanie, Homeless, Octa, and Nico all getting on the board in that fight, and those kills will let them keep the point for now.
And that's totally fine for Impostors now, right? Whoop! Whoa, it's mid pick! No, not totally fine at all. Homeless drops Zoomzy. This is going to give Dinko a 45% Uber advantage, and now Impostors are going to be clutching at straws to make their way back in with only minute 23 on the clock.
Yeah, Wise trying to counter sack alone there, gets shot out of the air, and looks like we have more players looking to go in for the sack. Bonesaw and Acor going up through the tunnel. Don't know if they're calling out him. They do see him now. Bomb in from the Dome Man as well. Brandon immediately blows up. Bonesaw gets headshot, so that sack not working out too well. Inquisition through lower, not finding anything either. So that was their attempt at evening it up, but they do not get anything. So Dinko now on 75% to Zoom's 50. He's actually built very well. I didn't see if they were bashering, but yeah, they will have Uber somewhat shortly here to contest as Netgraph are a minute in the lead.
Alright, pick on the spy. That's going to give you a little bit of a calmer entrance here into this fight. Looks like they are going to wait now for both teams to get up to Uber. So another, 15 seconds or so before Impostors are ready to push. But Rebel and Dinko taking their way all the way in. Get one pick on the Bonesaw. They corral the Impostors all the way back, but the Uber's fading just now.
In general, that's a good play if you can catch the medic out, if you have a commit call, but they really didn't find anything besides Bonesaw, so they're going to be at a full Uber decide for this fight as Zoomzy are walking forward. Brandon and Rue trying to get in. Here's the scout Uber Rue. Let's see what he can do. He needs to kill TK on this one. Bomb over from Brandon, trying to get anything. He doesn't end up killing Nico, but doesn't get much damage. Rue's also been left up to dry. Zoomzy's backed out through lower. He will not die yet, though. Zoomzy gets piped by Octa on the back end, so really successful kite out from Netgraph. They do keep almost all their players alive except for NG, and they're going to be recapping this shortly. It's a full wipe for Impostors. They had the right idea there, but they just couldn't get the damage done properly. Brandon also jumped where his medic couldn't reflash him.
Yeah, I hate to see such an early use. Wise coming in at the last second. Brandon from the heavens nuking the point, except a little bit of a failure to launch, it seems, where now the score is 3-1 in favor of my Netgraph is a war crime.
Yep, one more round for them will be the end of this game, and Impostors are going to have to pull out a third round performance like they did if they want to extend it. It looks like Octa is fast to this mid, going to be fighting alongside his heavy, although he does eat a headshot, going to be very low, needs to get arrowed, he gets some health back. Rebel immediately 1-for-1s with Inquisition, a bomb in over the top from DC Creeper, gets the mini, but not much else, will get taken down. Beanie and Homeless drop as well, and this is a good mid for Impostors. The health is a bit bad, especially on Zoomzy, but they should be able to re-push this and get fighting. Starfruit eats a pipe on the way out, but that will be a mid-fight win for the Impostors.
And Netgraph had this mid theory where they're like, if we create enough chaos, we're just gonna win the chaos, right? So that's what they do. But Michael PC1 sniping Octa down to freaking 4 HP to start the mid, immediately you're sending very little chance. But it looks like the SAR claps back onto Brandon.
So Spidey Cloak onto Sar here, going to trade back onto the enemy Sniper. So a lot of players down for both sides right now. It's 100% Uber for both teams. As Netgraph are walking on the point here, going to try to get this force out from Zoomzy. We're going to see who they use on. It looks like no team is actually puffers, but Zoomzy drops. He got backstabbed by Homeless, milked a bit too long there. You got to get on the point to deny before you're backed up against the walls. So right now, that's a full ad for Netgraph to work with. Impostors just a bit slow on the trigger.
Now the age-old question, how do Impostors want to make their way back into force? So far, Wise going completely alone. Oh, of course, he gets taken down by DK as well. Yeah, of course.
Either way, not successful. Zoomsy on 25% to Dinko's 100, and they're doing their forward hold on point. Once they get their NG here to put up a mini again, we're going to have a crossfire. Brandon sacking in, trying to find some damage. Gets a lot onto Dinko. Bomb in. Oh, what a reflector shot from TK! Hits Wise on a different angle, so going to save his medic on that one, and that will be a successful denial. Bonesaw through under, going to get cleaned up late. Doesn't find anything besides Nico, so not a successful sack, although they do get Saw and force him to have a long spawn timer.
Yeah, that's another go sign if you're the imposters, right? With no sniper and no demo, you got to get in here and get in fast, but keep your medic alive.
They have picks too.
MTS 30 disad, playing right in the middle of the point, letting Brandon do the damage. Michael Peason, when taking good lines, gets a pick onto DZ
Watch
Creeper
out
too.
for A-Core here. He's trying to find a med pick. They need to get out of this. They don't have any players to Uber on. It looks like they will escape with all the people alive, and that will be a respawn for the side of Netgraph. They did have an Uber out to work with there, but they dropped too many players, so they're just going to get out and fight another day with it.
Imposters taking a little bit of a forward hold, but their entire team is on one side, and they're not quite covering this area. Like, look at this, Netcraft's able to work in. Wise going for a little bit of a play, but yeah, when you bomb into 5 people, including a pyro and stuff, it's not going to do too much.
A-Core's on Dinko. Can he find the drop? Oh, it's just too late. Uber comes in time, and frags are all in the favor of Netcraft right now. Wise Bonesaw going down, as well as Michael PC gets stickied. So that's a clean retake from Netgraph by milliseconds, and A-Core finds that drop. That fight looks completely different.
That's a crazy movement from Dinko, like flying into the point and surfing right back out. And now look at this comparison of a forward hold, right? Like Beanie's forward on the rock, locking down the concrete side. Rebels through the cave, locking down the waterfall side. And the rest of the players are spread out evenly across the point. That's suffocating if the imposter's trying to get back in.
Yep, and now it's going to be even Ubers for both teams. A small 10% ad for Dinko, as all players are going to be alive here. It's about a minute ad for Netgraph by the time Imposters can make it to the point. They're going to walk out here with the fists heavy, trying to take some damage with that mini sentry. Is very oppressive. Starfruit trying to chip at it, but they don't find anything. Michael going to get the opening pick onto Beanie, so no heavy means you have a lot more options on where to push. Bonesaw going to look to fist underneath, seeing if he can get any heavy submarine action. Look at Imposters grouping around it. They know he's there, but that's going to buy a lot of room for them on the point. They're going to cap it up with a lot of edge time. Bonesaw does end up going down, and the Uber is out here first for Netgraph.
Zoomsy on 92%, but only 4 players alive. As long as you have your demo, then you stand a chance to get back into this. It's a perfect person having a respawn, but look, it's 37, 36, 35 on the clock. Time's ticking away.
Yep, it is 100% for Zoomsy. They're going to have all 9 players alive for this push. Rebel is in the backline here trying to find something. He does find A-Core early, so no Spy going to be in this fight. Rebel on the enemy bats here. Looks to find Michael, although he's going to get chased down. He's very low. He does find, he does help get Bonesaw killed before he trades up his life for Wise, so that's going to be a bit of an even advantage. That early Uber from Imposters here, they do it from the house. They're trying to find anything they can. Nico doing a lot of work again with the mini sentry. Going to get taken down on the end. It's going to be 80% for Dinko, as a lot of frags going up.
Oh, the point is going to go in favor of the imposters for sure. Oh, and that's an unfortunate late death for Beanie too on the side of Netgraph, but this does give Dinko a 80% Duber advantage, ready to go right back in, even teamed up with Rebel. You might want to wait for your team, but with better spawns and a full Uber, look, they're already creating space, making these openings.
Yep, they definitely have room to make it work with this Uber advantage. Stickies get reflected, so now it's Octa walking forward, trying to edge some damage onto the point. In behind is Wise, going to force that Uber before it gets taken down by Beanie, and it's going to be about chasing down kills and doing damage. Rebel going to get in on this one late, but Mini Sentry takes him to half. He does help find a kill onto Inquisition. Wise as well, dropping on that end. It's almost capped up. Because it's capped up, the game is over. Imposters making the last second dash to the point as it's Chaos. Michael headshots Rebel, but it's not enough. And that's going to be the Netgraph taking the 4-1 win.
Yeah, strong showing from Netgraph here, showing why they have 17,000 lobbies. Also, the score does finish 4-1, so one of our casters happens to be a official genius. Do you remember, by the way, Zach, when I was counting how many seconds there were in the round? So they had all their players up and ready to push at 33 seconds for Imposters, and they actually pushed at 11 seconds. So that's another 20 off the clock. Like, that's just too slow if you want to win rounds on Koth.
Yeah, Imposters, they really just don't have the tempo down to do Koth properly. I haven't seen them play Payload very much, but it just feels like this team doesn't have the coordination or the chops to know what needs to happen on the pushes. That said, they did manage to take a round, so golf claps for them. That said, they will drop to 1-5, only win being a forfeit. So they have one more chance to get a win invite. I'm not sure who their matchup is next week, but if they want, they just want to avoid the winless season if they can. After they did have success in the previous one.
And that was, after we talked about, right, like this is a bit of a long halftime where we saw the imposters taking
The
that
swap was
tactical
fun.
timeout basically, and yeah, they made it work. Like no one could even, they won more rounds with it than without it, right? So at least it's really good to see that they're making these adjustments. They're getting themselves back in the game. They're figuring out what's wrong and working their way through
Yeah, finally, only took 7 weeks.
it.
We saw Rue take a scout Uber. It was amazing. I saw a flashed Boston man from the Impostors the first time all season. Yeah, that said, that will be pretty clean for NetGraph. Dropping that round doesn't matter, as we mentioned earlier. Both these teams are out of playoffs, so this will be the first time we saw NetGraph, second time Impostors, and the last time we will see them this season. So, claps for them all around. They did play out the season at least, and they didn't die. NetGraph as well moved up, so props to them for playing the season out in Invite.
Yeah, GG's to everyone, and a pretty fun match, all things considered, and some nice holds out of Netgraph too.
Yep, we have the stats on screen. I'm not sure where the fancy Dolphin stats are, but it looks like we'd have the logs page. Rebel again, 26 scout frags, almost topping the server except for Beanie. Rue did a good job on scout. I want to say he did his best. Bonesaw as well. They tried their best, but when you're losing that bad in the first half, any swaps, it'll feel better probably.
I'll throw in. Look at this. Michael PC won on Imposters, top frags in the
Oh yeah, I
server,
didn't even see him. I
30 and
wasn't even looking at
13.
imposters. Yeah, so
Yeah,
Michael, we did mention he got going in the second half. He found his mojo, got a lot of shots there. And that's what I meant when I said that this team does have avenues to find openings. Michael PC1 has the ability to do that, just top frag the server while losing 1-4. So if imposters can get like their fundamentals in order, they do have a lot of good players and a lot of potential, assuming they do stay together going into the next season.
especially in roles you look to see like, oh, one medic just got obliterated and the other one didn't, but even the same number of medic deaths. Like Imposters did have a lot of openings, but if it was maybe too little too late in so many of these doors that were opened, were just kind of left open as they slowly creep and consider walking through it rather than just blasting through, busting it open, tearing it down like we saw from NetGraph, where they were going for those aggressive holds and just dry pushing right away. So yeah, I think the better team won in this one.
Yeah, pretty clearly. That said, we will be wrapping this up shortly. There's not too much more to say on this topic. So, with that, these two teams are eliminated from playoffs. We have, 5 left competing for the final 4 spots. I think we have one, maybe 2 teams locked in, perhaps 3, and there's only 1 spot left going to the last week. But either way, playoffs will be here shortly. One more week of regular season is yet to come in this RGL invite season. It's very competitive at the mid and top of the table, so you won't want to miss any of the matches we got remaining for you.
Yeah, be sure to tune in, and thanks to the teams again for a fun match. Well played to my NetGraph is War Crime. Congrats on the win.
Yep. If we have any closing shoutouts, Ro, you can go ahead and state those. Make sure to
Cool.
vote, everyone.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Shout out to Sigifui. Shout out to Dolphin, who did such a wonderful time with 3 of the Sea this weekend, too. Shout out to electing to participate in the election. Shout out to all my homies in the chat, the cuties, and Memento Mori. I see everyone. Thanks for all the kind words. Thanks for watching.
Yep. And with that, we will close out here. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time.